Hello, this is a discourse on the book Christ in You, and today I'll be joined by my friend, and we'll be reviewing the 25th lesson called Omnipresence, and that lesson begins on page 103. And this is Angel Christchild, and I'm welcoming my friend to our video. Welcome, friend.
Welcome. And continuing through with the next lesson from Omnipresence, which is a continuation of the previous lesson. So the previous lesson was named Omnipresence as well, but we're continuing on here, and it reads that so that you may be the better understand ever-present so that you may the better understand ever-present time, I will make this statement, which is absolute truth. No time has passed since our last lesson. It was and is now.
Interesting. The eternal now.
There's only now.
Of course, Miracles also speaks about the fact that time is part of the illusion, and there is only now in the real world, in the world of substance, not shadow.
Makes you wonder why it's such a convincing illusion that we have the illusion of time.
Well, yeah, it does actually. But that's how our ego part of ourselves would have it. That's how we would have it until you start to question it, like you and I are doing, and reaching out to our friends and our listeners to help them see a different perspective. So, shall we go on?
Yep. Excuse me. And it says, man and not God made yesterday and will make tomorrow. This to you, the 7th month in the year 1907. It is the day on which Christ was born. It is the only day that has ever been. So I take it what he's saying there is this book was delivered back in 1907.
Yeah.
But since everything is happening now, it's no different than the day on which Christ was born. That auspicious day.
Well, that's an interesting perspective on it.
Is that how you interpret that?
It could possibly be that way. I actually thought that that every day that we live since any time, since we created this illusion, is the day on which Christ was born, because there are no days and there are no times. It's just an illusion of time and days. Yeah. But I think, it's just another way of saying what you just expressed, I think.
So today is an auspicious day then, just the same as the day Christ was born.
Yeah. Or in the Bible, it says every day is an evil day. That always makes me laugh. Because every day is a day where we believe we're separate and apart from God, and we live in a fallen, evil world. So every day is evil.
Well, interesting. Only if we buy into that belief, I guess.
It's all belief.
But it reads on, time cannot pass. There is no past. Man is a new creation by the power of the living Christ. You may not understand at once, but you will. Can you conceive of Christ aging? Have you never discovered the wonderful fact in the thought of the eternal youth of the Christ?
That's something I find very interesting, because as we've talked about before, I've studied the near-death experience extensively through, talking with real people who've had near-death experience and reading books and watching videos and just finding all that I could. And when the souls that come to meet the loved ones that are having those NDEs, those souls are ageless and beautiful, and they've been restored to a perfect body, normally around the age of 30, depending on when they died. If they died during childhood, they often appear as children, but everyone is ageless and glowing and perfect. If you had some kind of a disease or affliction when you were in your body on earth, that was gone, and you just returned to perfection. So that's the way we can anticipate being once we leave this planet and go back to our real home. Ageless.
Yeah, that's eternal youth of eternal.
Yep. And like it says here, in the next sentence, as Christ is, even so are we, though it does not yet appear to the physical or mortal senses, because we're still stuck on our earth plane, our creation, and we're still living that through, so we can't see it, but those that have gone on before us can. So I find that very encouraging. It's something to work toward.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's a Bible verse associated with that too.
Yes.
1 John 3:2. Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what will we be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is.
Ageless.
Yeah. So we're kind of like, we'll kind of like meet Christ essentially and see that he's ageless, we're ageless, and realize, oh, we're all just children of God, or all together as these light, eternal beings. Right?
Yes, correct. I wish that we could somehow reach out to the billions of people on this planet and help them understand that this is the truth. Because it does radically change your perspective on life. So shall we go on? We're at, you speak of us as unreal.
Yes.
Actually, I have a quote from A Course in Miracles about that. I might as well talk about that now. So the book says on page 104, you speak of us as the unreal. And we are on the only real plane, and your physical plane, or the plane of the senses, to us is unreal or shadow. So A Course in Miracles says, fear not to cross the abode of peace and perfect holiness. Only there is the completion of God and his Son established forever. Seek not for this in the bleak world of illusion, where nothing is certain and where everything fails to satisfy. The illusion and reality of love, and that's in the text of A Course in Miracles. And then it goes on to say, I like this one as well. Seeing is always outward. Were your thoughts wholly of you, the thought system that you made would be forever dark. Because you must admit, we do have a pretty dark thought system in this place. However, it goes on to say, the thoughts the mind of God's Son projects or extends have all the power that he gives to them. The thoughts he shares with God are beyond his belief, but those he made are his beliefs. And it is these and not the truth that he has chosen to defend and love. And that's from a section in the text called The Condition of Learning. So we have a choice. We chose not to think with God's thoughts, but to think with our own thoughts. And we chose to defend our shadowy world rather than accepting God's peace and perfect holiness, as the first one said. Instead, we decided to seek a bleak world of illusion where nothing's certain, when we could have something entirely different, much more positive and uplifting.
Yeah, it's about to talk about that here. Here are the couple paragraphs too. Yeah, it's good. It says, well, you speak of us as the unreal. The truth is quite the reverse. We are on the only real plane, and your physical plane or plane of the senses is to us the unreal or the shadow. We find many vital laws exactly the opposite of those in operation on your plane. You are there to bring into manifestation spiritual laws, and Christ showed you this possibility. Water was not able to engulf spirit when spirit was absolutely controlling the physical atoms. And this refers to Jesus walking on water in the Bible.
Right. Yeah, a lot of different things that he did, that he was able to overcome the atoms.
Yeah, that's a good reference there. A reference to on the word water to John 6:19. It says, when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water, and they were frightened.
I would have been there. Every time I hear that, I just think, oh, I wish I could have been there. How cool that would have been.
Sounds like a scene from a movie or something. It's like, how could that be?
Yeah. Well, that's something that we need to learn how to get over too, is the startle effect of the miracle. Because we are entitled to these miracles, and we do have the ability to create them as Jesus did. And part of the reason why we're having such trouble doing that is because we're startled by it and we can't believe it.
Well, reading on. There shall no evil or accident befall thee, nor any sickness come to thy tabernacle or body. Your sicknesses, your disasters are the result of your descent, or rather of your wrong plane of being. The fall, capitalized the word fall, or the F in the word fall, is a present and not a past fact.
Right.
And real fall is that he is content with the shadow of good. He still eats of the tree of good and evil. And it's referring to the Genesis story of
Garden of Good and Evil.
Yeah, the Garden of Eden, how they ate the fruit.
The wrong choice.
Wrong choice.
Well, the fall is a present fact. not past, because we're living it. We're still living it. And the Course in Miracles, I thought this is an important thought from the Course in Miracles. No thought but has the power to release or kill, and none can leave the thinker's mind or leave him unaffected. And that's from a text section called The Last Unanswered Question. So if we can just grasp that the fall is present and that we have the ability to change our thoughts and start to think thoughts with God, which we've talked about in the past lessons, we can start to reclaim our spiritual self and overcome the fall, which is, I think, the point of us. One of the big points about being in this place is to clean up the mess that we've created.
If there's no past, did we ever create a mess?
Well, it'll just disappear like a nightmare. It'll stay for a while, like how sometimes you have a nightmare and you get up in the morning. I don't know if that's ever happened. I think it has. You've shared your dreams with me, and you still have a sort of a feeling of the dream, and it stays with you for a little while, and then it's gone. And we learn from this experience. We've talked about that in past lessons. In Christ in You talks about how we're learning. It's like we're in kindergarten, spiritual kindergarten, and we're learning and we're moving forward and we're being prepared with our treasures. And it's happening all for a reason. And someday we'll see why. So, but we've got ourselves stuck in it, and we need to learn how to get unstuck and move forward.
Well, it speaks to what is the answer. It says, well, he still eats of the tree of good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
And until the Christ fills the whole consciousness, man will ever be at war with himself, his brother, and his God.
Right. Yep. There's a whole section in A Course in Miracles about the war against yourself. A whole chapter. I could really read up on that. It's a big one.
Wow. It's a lot to take in, and but it says man's understanding is clearer and light is breaking everywhere. You can read your Old Testament more intelligently, seeing in the symbols the inner and spiritual ideas of God. The waters of Mer were bitter, and this was the result of the bitterness of the people. And there's a Bible verse about that, how they couldn't drink the water because it was bitter. And
Yes.
people were grumbling against Moses, saying, what are we to drink?
Mm-hmm.
And Moses called out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became fit to drink.
That's pretty interesting.
Jesus and his prophets, Moses, and another water miracle, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And using the spiritual nature to overcome the atoms. And there's something here that I thought would be appropriate from Course in Miracles. It goes, under the dusty edge of the distorted world, the ego would lay the Son of God, slain by its orders, proof of his decay that God himself is powerless before the ego's might, unable to protect the life that he created against the ego's savage wish to kill. My brother, child of our Father, this is a dream of death. And that's from the section called The Incorruptible Body in the text.
Interesting. So it's almost sounding like that when the Romans crucified Jesus, that they were acting like the ego, perhaps, like they were trying to squash this message of light. But then Jesus like resurrected and even like transcended that and showed that I'm eternal. You can't possibly stop this message or whatever.
Right. The ego thinks it has the power to do that. And it uses its, killing to distract us. Basically, if you can see that and feel that and understand that and look at the news and keep that in mind, it makes a huge difference in the way you view the world. Just turn on your news and look at it. It's all ego. It's all ego trying to keep us under its control. And so in this section, it's very warm to my heart because I have been using my own connection with Jesus and the inner forces of the earth to make changes in the weather since 2003. And it is possible. It can be done. We have that power within us.
Just have to realize our own power is really our connection with Christ, and it's Christ's power within us. And knows what we can do.
Yes. So shall we read on?
Yes. So man makes the quality of the land. The flow of waters increases or decreases according to laws hidden within yourselves. You have made the very form of your island, England, by your thoughts and inner forces. Look to it that you obey the voice of spirit, for man was made to have dominion.
See, there's a Bible reference there.
Yeah, there is a Bible reference. Then it says Genesis 1:26-28. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground."
I think that we've probably used that command of God in a very negative way, controlled by ego rather than by our high spiritual self.
Yeah, I think the true purpose or meaning of having dominion is like being a caretaker.
Yes.
It's not to be
Destructo.
Destructo. Yeah.
No respect. Destructo.
Oh, here's a reference to the climates. It says the very changes of climate, all seeming disasters, are in accord with the life and being of man. And until man has come into and unto God, back to Eden, you will seem to wait for the new heaven and the new earth. For in that day they shall neither hurt nor destroy in all my holy mount.
What a wonderful day that'll be.
Yeah, it's back to Eden.
I'll see you there, friend.
It sounds like a good garden but we'll remember to eat the right fruit.
Yes, we will. Good point. True that.
There is a good Bible reference here around the word holy.
Okay.
Reference 3 to Isaiah 11:9.
Mhm.
They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea.
Mhm. So for me, that means that we will be thinking in terms of thoughts of God, not of man,
Mm.
and that the ego will not be in control, but that our spiritual self will be in control. And this will cover the whole earth, which would be pretty fantastic.
Mm. Yeah, there's another verse too.
Uh-huh.
I think it's feeding along those lines. So it says, "The wolf and the lamb will feed together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox, and dust will be the serpent's food.
Dust.
They dust.
Mm,
They will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain," says the Lord.
that's interesting. Well, often wondered how we were going to have peace when there were so many animals that were carnivores, but they will become omnivores or vegetarians. Interesting.
Maybe the animal kingdom is a reflection of our own consciousness that they have to kill one another to eat, to survive.
Yeah, it's a big quote in A Course in Miracles, a big concept. Kill or be killed. That's the concept of A Course in Miracles. That we come to this place, it's a place of death and destruction. And to eat, even to breathe, we have to breathe in microbes and kill things while we're breathing. So it's something to think about. It's pretty actually could be kind of stressing when you first start to understand this concept. But once you start to get a feeling for the fact that this place is an illusion that we've created, that we can work our way out of, is quite liberating.
Yeah, it's all a reflection of us, our consciousness. So that we can realize and kind of breathe in the Christ consciousness, and we will be on our way to the new Garden of Eden, the future
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
promise of God. So, reading on, it says, "I have lifted the veil that you may see the need of giving the utmost for the highest. Blessed be God for Jesus Christ, the Son of Man and the Son of God." In the story of the bitterness of Mara is a hidden truth. Ingratitude and murmuring brought bitterness. It is the same today. Your thoughts, if they are the suggestion of the senses, will still lead to bitterness and ashes. Learn the secret of praise and thanksgiving, the oil of joy.
That is great, isn't it? Learn the secret of praise and thanksgiving, the oil of joy. So there's some, Christian people that talk about this as well, and music that sings about it, that even during the storm, even during the rough times in our lives, even during the times where we're despairing, we can still give praise and thanks and manufacture joy, because it is the truth that we will be with our God, and it won't be that long. It seems like a long time, but when you get there, it'll be like no time has passed at all. So even during the times of trouble, we can still praise, give thanks, feel joy. And believe me, I've had my times of trouble, especially lately, and it does empower a person to feel joy in the midst of despair.
Hmm. even in the wilderness experience, the waters shall be sweet. So saying basically along those lines, even in this feeling of being in the wilderness and
Mhm.
being
Being lost, maybe.
lost from God,
Mhm.
the waters shall be sweet. You shall partake of the milk and honey of the manna. It's at your very feet, enough for each day. And for Christ is that heavenly manna. Feed on him in your heart by faith. Essentially, that's a good reference to the Bible, where it talks about the manna and how they gathered it up.
Right.
Just as much as they needed was there for them at their feet.
And it fell from the sky.
Mhm.
Manna from heaven.
And for Christ is that heavenly manna. Around the word heavenly is another reference to John 6:51. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats this bread will live forever.
Mm.
This bread is my flesh, which I give for the life of the world.
Lovely. See how much we're cared for.
Yeah, that's really powerful stuff to
Mhm.
realize that Jesus Christ gave all for us.
But not in sacrifice, in love. Not because we have to feel guilty and upset about it. It's a gift.
Mm.
And then we're expected to be more like him. That's the way we can honor him, is to be more like him.
Hmm. That's an empowering view.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, feed on him in your heart by faith. The very gifts you seek are poured out in rich abundance. Lift up your eyes and see. Just inasmuch as you yield to the divine innermost, as you live and bring forth the fruit of the Spirit. And it's referring to a Bible verse where it says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
So when you're connecting and receiving the fruits of the Spirit, then you have these gifts that you can exercise these gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a quote here I want to share too, friend, from A Course in Miracles. It goes, when two minds join as one and share one idea equally, the first link to the awareness of the sonship as one has been made. When you have made this joining as the Holy Spirit bids you and has offered it to him to use as he sees fit, his natural perception of your gift enables him to understand it and you to use his understanding on your behalf. And that's from a section of the course called The Power of Holiness. So, if we accept these gifts and understand them as the Holy Spirit bids us, we will be able to use them on our behalf. And that way we claim the power of our holiness, which is, the power that Jesus was able to perform on this earth plane.
As you live and bring forth the fruit of the Spirit, to that extent shall you have access to all that earth and heaven can yield. So it's given us kind of like a key to open up this door to what can be where you live that here on earth.
Yes.
Be that And he likes to use the word eat that bread of Christ.
That's a metaphor.
Metaphor.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're continuing through here. It says, there is no want to the children of God. Another good reference here of Psalms 34:10. The lions may grow weak and hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. There are times on the physical plane when the way is hid and the heavens seem as brass. You can open the floodgates, though, by steadily giving thanksgiving and certain hope. If you only knew the closed doors are the senses brought up against a wall of their own construction, a wall of doubt, fear, and falsity. A breath of the Spirit of God consumes them. You are greater than the shadow, sense, or clay.
We are greater than that. And unfortunately, a lot of us have gotten stuck in this belief that we are this body that we've created, or that it was God created this body. And I just wanted to share something from the Course in Miracles, the last quote. Spirit in its knowledge is unaware of the ego. It does not attack it. It merely cannot conceive of it at all. While the ego is equally unaware of spirit, it does perceive itself as being rejected by something greater than itself. And that's from a section in the Course text. It's called Ego and False Autonomy. So spirit doesn't perceive ego, which is really interesting. Cannot perceive ego. But ego knows that there's something out there that's not approving of it. And it's when you start to strike that, it's like striking a rock. And you better be prepared to be persistent, because the ego likes its power. But we do have to remember that we are greater than the senses, or greater of the clay, as the book says, the clay of the body, ashes to ashes.
Yeah, that's takes a lot of awareness to come into awareness of your ego self that wants the separation and the evil and the good, and wants to partake of the fall that was the buying into the separation.
Right.
And then a lot of awareness to come into this, bring yourself in to the place of realizing that Christ is within us. And as you've been saying here, is there's a Bible verse here towards the end here that says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. So we can ask God along the way for help. And it says, you are greater than shadow, sense, or clay. Having your feet on the rock, they cannot slide. God is with you. Complete harmony will be realized, for God is working out his divine purpose in you.
Now, isn't that reassuring? God is working out his divine purpose in you.
Means we're a part of the plan of God in some way. We're all part of the plan.
If we open to that, if we're open, we can be part of it. If we don't, we probably won't be. So that was a lot of food for thought this week.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining me, friends. And I'll look forward to speaking with you next week when we start the 25th lesson, 26 rather. Control of self and environment.
Yep. That's it's a lesson we can think about and integrate, and then we'll be continuing with the next lesson next week.
Okay. Have a wonderful Sunday.
All right, you too.